Drive-through visitation. What are you talking about, drive-through visitation?
Well, I mean, with what's going on today, we are challenged. And so we have to come up with creative ways of doing things. And some are embracing that option, some are scoffing it. But now today, I think maybe we might be taking a second look at that as a real option. Basically what it is placing the loved one in their casket at a window near a drive at the funeral home so people can just drive by, take a look into the window, and be able to say goodbye. And believe it or not, it is a dignified way to do it. It is a little bit coloring outside the lines of what we're used to, but funeral service isn't the funeral service the way it was. It's all about serving the families any way that we can, and as long as it's dignified, of course, legal.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we're here at Modette's Funeral Home and Cremation Services in Lake Orion, Michigan. Thank you for giving us the ability to use the facilities here with Matt Smith, and we are talking about additional tips for your funeral service to be doing in your funeral home to keep people safe and also to be able to encourage the loved ones of the family to be able to enjoy the experience of the tragic loss of their loved one. There's a lot of things that are happening that are updated almost, it seems like, daily on the NFDA website. So make sure that you're staying in tune with that. They're doing a fantastic job of keeping things current. Let's get to it, Matt.
Sure.
We're going to start right from the beginning.
Okay.
Of all the questions. We've kind of put these in order of having a door person. Tell us about that.
Well, I think it's important that people are coming into your facility. Mm-hmm. They're going to be touching things. Yeah. The door is certainly one of those. Yeah. And the door is a breeding ground for transmission of bacteria, viruses. So have a door person, and maybe even have your door person with a white glove. That looks nice. It's acceptable in a funeral home, and they're there opening the door so no one has to touch the doors.
Okay. What about this no limo?
Well, limousines are certainly frequent and common in funeral services, typically with processional services as well. And so a limousine is only going to promote people gathering inside one vehicle in a very closed area. Also, with that, processions. I would suggest meeting at the church or the cemetery, limit your processions, and I would not include the limousine services.
Okay. Visitation shifts. So this one, a question that I have with visitation shifts is, what are we like drawing everything out here, and how do we do it with multiple, if we have multiple events that are happening? You know how it is, feast or
famine, right? Yeah,
it gets super busy, or it's not. Tell us about this.
Well, if you have a shift, a visitation shift, this can work with the staff, also with the public. For instance, if you have a visitation from noon to 8, you could break that visitation up, have certain friends come at this time. It's going to take a little extra coordination, but you can have your family invite certain people from 8 to 1, or from 12 to 1, 1 to 2, so on and so forth.
Uh-huh. Like a schedule.
Almost like a schedule, yeah.
And then what about overflow rooms with closed circuit TV?
If you have the space and the availability to do it, here at Modette's Funeral Home, they certainly have that ability. Where their rooms are larger, you can have a flow. You can have an ingress and an egress. So from the door into the chapel, have the flow of the family or the friends come through, and then exit right out a different doorway out of the chapel, and then out another door out of the funeral home. If there's need for overflow rooms where the lines are getting a little bit too long, you can invite guests into the overflow rooms, and wait there for the line to thin out a little bit.
So almost like a processional of people going through. And
yeah, it's very similar to a dismissal after a service. When we dismiss people from the back to the front, it's similar to that. It's just a moving line that allows a flow. Mm-hmm. So there's no stagnant gathering of people, but everyone gets an opportunity to say their goodbye, be present, and give their contribution, and be a part of the experience.
Okay. Propping doors open, even bathroom doors?
Well, that seems a little odd, right?
Yeah.
If you have the opportunity to prop open a door, even an outside door, if it's nice and the weather permits, keep that door open, allow people to walk freely through it so they don't have to put their hands on things. If you have a restroom that has a little privacy entrance, or like a little narthex or foyer into the restroom before it gets into the private areas, leave that door open as well.
Okay. Bathroom etiquette. This stuff maybe people would know, but let's go through it.
Well, it's important to know that people are going to be very touchy in the bathroom. their hands. They're going to be touching different areas. They're going to be touching the sinks, the doors, doorknobs, toilets, all of that. And so this is an area we need to be ultra sensitive in. I think it's important that we have a table at the entrance of the restroom that has some tissue and maybe some sanitization, pump or something along those lines. Something where they can grab the tissue, open up the door, especially on those doors that have doorknobs. They can use that, and then directly inside the restroom have a waste bin, and they can dispose of that napkin right into the waste bin. They can take care of what they need to take care of in the restroom, and then at the sink basin where the faucet is, there should be paper napkins there, so they can use that napkin to turn on the faucet, wash their hands for the appropriate amount of time, and then use that napkin to shut the faucet off, and then take that napkin to the door and maybe use a napkin to open the door and dispose of that. That's why it's so important to have that waste bin right at the door. If you have the waste bin at the faucet, move it to the door. So it encourages them to take that napkin and use that to open the door with.
Sure. Okay, and let's go to trash can by the door. Hang paper towels in the bathroom. Use towel to turn off faucet. You had mentioned that. Play guards.
Yeah, it's important. It's also important that in the restroom, you might want to hang a placard or a sign that suggests using the back of the hand to push the door open if no one's there to open the door for them, and or the back of their forearm. So as they walk in or out, whatever direction the bathroom door swings, they can use the back of their hand, or if there's a kick plate at the bottom, have a placard that says, please feel free to use the kick plate and use your foot to push the door open.
Okay. And what about this? Limiting food and beverage.
Food and beverage is a very common practice at funeral homes for the families that come in. That way they don't have to leave and get their lunch and their food. They bring the food into your funeral home. I would limit that. Food only encourages gathering of people closely and touching of food and sharing of food and beverage. I would limit that. I would also limit water trays into the visitation rooms. I would just absolutely just not allow it.
What are the chances at this point that people don't know what's happening? What would you say? Do you feel like
100% zero?
Really?
Everybody's heard of the coronavirus.
Yep. So then you had mentioned in another video, let them know that you know. Let them kind of feel like you know, and because it's a little awkward, we're acting different. You're not supposed to be standing as close as what you and I are standing.
Right.
And let's talk about that. You had mentioned that before, but I think it bears repeating.
Yeah, it's important that the family knows that you know that they know. Did you follow that one?
With these rules, right?
Yeah, and it's important that everybody's on the same page.
Yeah.
And it's important that they know that you are there to serve them, but also protect them.
Yeah. There was another question that came up, and it keeps coming up. And what about staff? How do you handle the staff that are fearful of getting infected, that are fearful of transmission with them? How do you handle that?
It's important to meet with your staff, discuss with them, to, of course, always stay calm and educate yourself. And you should be aware and up to date with the current situation day to day. Yeah. But also remember to remind them to use the protocols that are in place. Use the universal precautions and the standards of care.
One thing I like the way you said it. You said it's a fair concern for the staff to be. It's fair for the staff to be fearful. It's fair for them to be concerned, and it's also fair for them to be following protocol and keeping a safe distance and not touching like they normally would.
Sure.
So that's kind of like the way you say it. You kind of like, all right, it's okay, we can do this now.
Right. Yeah. And it's fair to allow yourself, and it's fair to allow your staff to have those concerns.
Yeah.
So we want to be very considerate of each other.
Yeah. Another question that's coming up is, what about cremation? People, is it safer for us to just go ahead and do cremation and not have to deal with any of it? Give us your thoughts on that.
Well, I don't know how to measure what's safer or what's not safer, but I do know that we want to serve our families the best way we can. And simply by adhering to the precautions that have been laid out by the NFDA, the CDC, and of course OSHA, we can follow those standards and be much safer,
Yeah.
and also give the family what they really need, and that's closure. And really, it's not about the staff being close and huggy and kissy to the families. They need what they need, and it's okay that we're acting a little bit different,
Yeah.
and we're standing away a little bit, or if we're wearing our white gloves, or if we have hand sanitizer at every table. That's okay.
Mm-hmm. And you also had mentioned that if we, especially because of these times where people are handling it different ways, if we do cremation, then they really don't get that chance to say goodbye because they don't have that memory.
Yeah, I'm a firm believer in the opportunity to say goodbye in an open casket, environment.
Yeah.
It gives the family peace, letting them see their loved one in the best possible way, cleaned up, and their mouths closed, their eyes closed, looking restful and peaceful.
Yeah.
And it gives those extended family and friends that didn't see their loved one, or maybe they haven't seen them in years, or maybe they saw them looking the way they did in the hospital, looking restful. That's vital to our grieving process.
Yeah. And then can you just briefly, I know that you made a video on how to bring in media into the room, and really what I like about that is you showed a very simple and robust way to be able to bring media in. I know there's been some changes where we don't have to be as concerned with broadcasting as long as it's private. But tell us about that. I know you're pretty excited to do that.
Yeah, and some funeral directors are already doing that, and embracing that, early on. This is a good and easy, practical way to bring in our technology and the media to our advantage, allowing us to broadcast in a private, dignified way so everyone can participate in the experience, so no one feels left out. Even those that feel like they're might be trapped in their own home, it gives them an opportunity to be a little bit on the outside world and to say goodbye.
That's good. Yeah, so if you haven't seen that video, you want to check that video out. We did that video a few days ago. But Matt, I want to tell you, not going to shake your hand, but thank you for doing this.
Can we do this?
Thank you for being the voice of really kind of helping people through this and comfort. And thank you. We've gotten so many people that have responded privately to Matt saying, you are helping us feel more confident, feel reassured. You're giving us clarity on what we should be mindful of and what we should be thinking of. Thank you, Matt Smith. And so we really appreciate those comments. If you haven't shared this material with other people, please share it. A lot of people wouldn't necessarily know where to look, or wouldn't come across it, or wouldn't find it. So this is something that we really encourage you to share it with others so that they can benefit as well, because as you always say,
we're all in it together.
We're all in this together, and that's a big deal. So thank you so much, Matt.
Absolutely.
Thank you for doing this.
Of course, my pleasure.
Let's go. Matt?
Yeah.
Oh, what are you doing? We're trying to do an interview here. We're trying to ask questions.
Yeah, I'm trying to keep my social distance, George.
Well, but people need to see you. They need to be able to get the answers here. They want to see you.
Well, okay. Well, let me ease in here a little bit. Okay.
Yeah. This is.
Yeah.
All right, let's go.